If something stands in front of us, we believe it. If history is written in books, we accept it. If scientists repeat something for years, most people never question it. That is how the human mind works. We feel safe when the world makes sense. But what happens when one discovery tears that comfort apart? What happens when a forgotten structure rises from the ground and quietly tells us that everything we know about human history may be wrong? Because deep inside an ancient landscape, hidden beneath layers of earth and stone, researchers uncovered something that should not exist. A massive man-made structure, older than cities, older than kingdoms, older than farming itself. And if the evidence is true, then advanced humans were building monumental sites at a time when history says they were only hunting animals and surviving in caves. For generations, we were told civilization began around 6,000 years ago. We were told cities came first, then temples, then organized society. It sounded logical, clean, easy to understand. But this place tells a different story. A story of forgotten builders, a story of knowledge erased by time, and a story so shocking that many experts refuse to accept it. Because if this structure is what some researchers believe it is, then the entire timeline of humanity must be rewritten. The site sits quietly in modern-day Turkey, on a hill that from a distance looks ordinary. Nothing about it screams mystery. No giant towers, no shining walls, no dramatic ruins reaching into the sky. Just earth, stone, silence. But beneath that silence was one of the most disturbing discoveries in archaeology. Its name is Göbekli Tepe. For thousands of years, it remained buried on purpose, covered carefully under soil and debris, as if the people who built it wanted it hidden forever. That alone raised questions. Why would anyone bury something so massive with such effort? When archaeologists first began serious excavation in the 1990s, they expected another ancient settlement, maybe a small village, maybe a graveyard, maybe scattered remains of primitive life. What they found instead stunned them. Huge circular enclosures, massive T-shaped stone pillars, carvings of animals so detailed they seemed alive. Foxes, snakes, birds, boars, scorpions. And these were not random rocks. They had been cut, shaped, transported, and arranged with planning and skill. Some pillars weighed several tons. That means people without metal tools, without wheels, without domesticated animals, somehow moved and positioned stones heavier than modern cars. And then came the dating results. Around 9600 BC. Let that sink in. More than 11,000 years old. Older than Stonehenge by thousands of years. Older than the pyramids by around 7,000 years. Older than writing. Older than pottery. Older than what many historians once called civilization itself. This was the moment everything changed. Because according to traditional history, humans at that time were simple hunter-gatherers, small groups wandering the land, chasing food, sleeping in temporary shelters, living day to day. They were not supposed to organize giant labor forces. They were not supposed to carve sacred monuments. They were not supposed to create complex symbolic art. And they were definitely not supposed to build one of the oldest monumental religious sites ever found. But here's the twist. Göbekli Tepe existed anyway. So, either the site was misunderstood or history was. Researchers began studying every detail. The stones were carefully placed in circles, with two larger central pillars often standing in the middle, like guardians. Some pillars even had carved arms, hands, and belts, suggesting they represented human-like beings. Not crude figures, not accidental shapes, intentional design. Whoever built this place had beliefs, rituals, symbols, and social coordination. That changes everything. Because for years, many scholars believed farming created civilization. The idea was simple. Humans learned agriculture,
settled down, grew food, then developed religion, politics, and architecture. But Göbekli Tepe flipped that idea upside down. What if religion came first? What if shared belief brought people together before farming ever did? What if humans gathered to build sacred spaces and later developed agriculture to feed the workers and visitors? That would mean temples may have created cities, not the other way around. Imagine the scene. Thousands of years ago, before metal, before roads, before kings, groups of people travel across open land towards a sacred hill. They bring stone tools, food, stories, and purpose. Fires burn at night. Ceremonies begin under stars untouched by modern light. Voices echo between stone pillars. Animal symbols carry meanings now lost forever. And generation after generation adds to the site. Then, suddenly, it is buried. Not destroyed in war, not collapsed naturally, buried intentionally. Ton after ton of soil used to cover the enclosures. Why? That question still haunts experts. Some believe new beliefs replaced old ones. Some think the people moved away. Others believe the burial preserved something sacred, ending one era and sealing it for another age to discover. And what nobody expected was that Göbekli Tepe might not be alone.
Nearby sites like Karahan Tepe and others began revealing similar ancient structures. This suggested an entire network of forgotten communities existed long before accepted civilization dates. Not one isolated miracle, a culture, a system, a lost chapter of humanity. The more discoveries emerged, the more uncomfortable the questions became. If people this ancient could organize large projects, what else did they know? What other sites remained buried? How many early achievements were erased by floods, climate disasters, war, and time? Because remember, the world 11,000 years ago was changing fast. The last ice age was ending. Seas were rising. Landscapes were transforming. Entire regions where humans once lived may now be underwater. So how much evidence is gone forever? How many stories were drowned before anyone could write them? This is where the drama deepens. Some people rushed to extreme conclusions. They claimed aliens built it. Others said a super-advanced lost civilization taught ancient people everything. But the real truth may be more powerful than fantasy. Humans built it. Regular humans, creative humans, determined humans. People often underestimate ancient minds. We assume old means primitive. We confuse lack of technology with lack of intelligence. But intelligence existed long before smartphones and skyscrapers. Those builders observed nature, worked together, solved problems, shared symbols, created meaning. That is civilization in its purest form. And maybe the biggest mistake modern people make is believing progress always moves in a straight line. It doesn't. Cultures rise. Cultures disappear. Knowledge is gained. Knowledge is lost. A people can build wonders, then vanish until only stone remains. Göbekli Tepe reminds us that history is not a perfect record. It is a broken puzzle with most pieces missing. Every textbook is based on what survived, not everything that happened. Think about the emotional weight of that. Entire generations lived, loved, feared, prayed, worked, and dreamed at this site. They laughed with families, buried loved ones, watched children grow, believed their actions mattered. Then time erased their names. No kings list them, no books describe them, no voices remain. Only pillars, only carvings, only silence. And yet through that silence, they are speaking louder than ever. They are telling us we judged our ancestors too quickly. They are telling us human greatness began earlier than we imagined. They are telling us the roots of society run deeper than written memory. For archaeologists, discoveries like this are exciting, but also painful, because every major find forces experts to admit that certainty can be dangerous. Ideas defended for decades can fall in one excavation season. That is not failure. That is science working honestly. But for the public, it feels personal. We build identity around history. We like neat timelines and simple beginnings. We want to know where civilization started and how the story goes. Göbekli Tepe refuses simplicity. It gives us mystery instead. And maybe mystery is closer to truth than certainty ever was. Today, visitors walk among these stones and stare at marks carved by hands from another world, not another planet, but another human world so distant it feels impossible. No names, no written language, no empire, yet enough vision to create something that still shocks modern minds. That should humble us, because one day our cities too may become ruins. Our certainty may become guesses. Future people may misunderstand us the way we misunderstood those before us. So what is this structure really changing? Not just dates on a timeline, not just archaeology. It changes the way we see ourselves. It proves humanity did not suddenly become brilliant in recent ages. The spark was always there, deep in prehistory, before recorded names, before flags, before borders. People were already searching for meaning and building monuments to it. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all is this: the past is not dead. It is buried, waiting for one shovel, one storm, one accident to rise again and challenge everything we think we know. So the next time someone says history is settled, remember the silent stones on that hill in Turkey, because one forgotten structure already changed the story of humans, and there may be many more still hidden beneath our feet.